It all started with a smile. A warm, inviting smile from a man wrapped in expensive clothes, standing beneath a sleek black umbrella on a rainy afternoon. For 16-year-old Zara, that smile meant hope. It meant a way out of the foster system, out of the gray, suffocating group homes that smelled of disinfectant and broken promises. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that behind that smile lived something much darker. Something that didn't just want a daughter, but a servant, a puppet, a possession. This is the story of how a girl searching for family ended up in a nightmare far worse than the life she tried to escape. Zara had always been the quiet one. While the other foster kids fought, stole, or vanished into the night, she kept her head down, did her chores, and read every book she could get her hands on. She had survived by being invisible. But deep down, she wanted something more. She dreamed of a mother who would braid her hair, or a father who'd teach her how to drive. She imagined birthday cakes with candles, not just hand-me-down clothes and cold spaghetti. So when Mr. Blackwood walked into the group home one damp October morning, the air changed. He was tall, handsome in an icy way, his silver hair swept back like a movie star's. He wore a wool coat that screamed money and power. The social worker introduced him as a philanthropist, someone looking to adopt a teenage girl to give her a better life. Zara was skeptical, but when he spoke directly to her, his voice soft and smooth like velvet, something inside her melted. "You have eyes like my late daughter," he said gently. "I think you might be the one." Within a week, the papers were signed. The other kids envied her. Even the staff seemed relieved that at least one girl had found a family. Zara packed her things, a couple of books, some worn clothes, and followed Mr. Blackwood to a waiting black car with tinted windows. The drive to the estate took nearly 2 hours. They passed forests drenched in mist, winding roads that seemed to disappear into nowhere. Finally, they arrived at a massive wrought iron gate. Beyond it lay a mansion that looked like something out of a Gothic novel. The walls were stone, crawling with ivy, and the windows reflected no light. It was beautiful, but cold, distant. Inside, everything gleamed. Marble floors, velvet curtains, chandeliers dripping with crystal. Zara gasped. It was more than she had ever imagined. A real bedroom. A closet full of clothes with the tags still on. Even a tablet and a phone, though strangely, there was no Wi-Fi. "You'll find we don't like distractions here," Mr. Blackwood said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The first night, she was too excited to sleep. But by the third night, something began to feel off. She noticed that the staff never spoke to her. In fact, they barely looked at her. A cook would place a tray outside her door and vanish. The maids moved like shadows, never meeting her gaze. Mr. Blackwood insisted on strange routines. She had to eat breakfast exactly at 7 a.m., recite a list of affirmations at lunch, and take long walks through the gardens at dusk. Always supervised. Always watched. Then the chores began. At first, it was harmless. Dusting shelves, organizing books. But soon it escalated. She was ordered to scrub marble floors on her knees. Iron bed sheets until they were perfectly smooth. Clean bathrooms she never used. If she protested, Mr. Blackwood's tone changed. "Cold, sir. This is how we build character," he'd say. "You are lucky to be here." She didn't feel lucky. After a month, Zara was no longer treated like a daughter. She wasn't allowed in certain rooms. She wasn't allowed to leave the estate. Her clothes changed, simple, gray uniforms with stiff collars. Her phone vanished one morning, replaced by a laminated schedule posted on her wall. There was no school, no outings, no friends. Only work. One morning, she made the mistake of sleeping in. She woke to find her door locked from the outside. No breakfast tray. No footsteps in the hall. Hours passed in silence until, finally, Mr. Blackwood appeared. "I thought you were different," he said, voice dripping with disappointment. "But you're just like the others. Disobedient." She wanted to scream, to ask what he meant by others. But he simply shut the door and walked away. That night, she dreamed of cages. Rows and rows of them in the cellar beneath the house. And inside each one girls. Silent. Staring with empty eyes. When she awoke, the sheets were soaked in sweat. But the fear didn't leave her. Not in the morning. Not during her chores. Not when she saw a flicker of movement behind the cellar door. It creaked open just an inch, just enough for her to see a pale hand reach out and drag the door shut again. Zara's world tilted. She wasn't the only one. Something was terribly wrong. She needed answers. Zara waited until midnight. The mansion slept in silence, as it always did. With trembling hands, she crept through the halls, avoiding the cameras she'd memorized over the past few weeks. Her bare feet made no sound on the cold marble. She made her way to the cellar door, heart pounding so hard she thought it might wake the whole house. It wasn't locked. She pushed it open slowly, holding her breath. The stairs creaked beneath her weight. The air grew colder with each step. The smell of mildew and something metallic, coppery, filled her nose. At the bottom was a hallway lined with wooden doors. Some ajar, some shut tight. And from one of them came a whisper. "Help me." Zara turned toward the voice, and that's when she saw it. A girl, no older than her, staring through a small barred window in the door. Her hair was tangled. Her eyes sunken. "Please," the girl said. "He told me I was special too." Zara froze. Her throat closed up. The door behind her creaked, and then slammed shut. The lights flickered out. And she realized, the nightmare was just beginning. The night Zara heard the whisper, she couldn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her ornate bed, flashlight clutched tightly in her trembling hands. The pale face she'd seen behind the cellar door, the girl's sickly complexion, hollow eyes, and quiet desperation, had lodged itself deep in her mind. But the next morning, the mansion was eerily calm again. Mr. Blackwood greeted her with his usual polite smile, his cane tapping rhythmically on the marble floor as he passed by her. He never asked about the night. Neither did the maids. It was as if no one heard the whisper but her. When Zara passed the hallway leading to the cellar again, the door was shut tight. A gleaming lock now held it firmly in place. She didn't dare ask questions. She'd already been punished once for speaking too freely. Days passed. The weather stayed bleak. Fog wrapped around the house like a curse, and Zara's chores became more grueling by the hour. Polishing ancient statues, cleaning dusty chandeliers, ironing endless curtains, washing clothes she never saw anyone wear. She noticed something strange. The same clothes were cleaned again and again. The same plates were placed, cleaned, and reset. It was as if the house existed in a loop that only she seemed aware of. And then there were the noises. Scratches behind walls. A faint sobbing in the distance. Whispers, always just out of reach. One afternoon, while dusting the hallway portraits, Zara paused at a painting she hadn't noticed before. It was an oil canvas of several girls, young like her, standing in a line, wearing plain gray dresses. In the background, the mansion loomed, almost alive. Their eyes looked wrong, empty. Just like the girl in the cellar. She stepped closer. Each of them had something etched beneath their feet. Numbers. And below those numbers, dates. Zara counted quickly, 9 girls. The most recent date? Just last year. She felt a chill crawl up her spine. Mr. Blackwood's voice echoed from the hallway, startling her. It's time to prepare the West Wing. She turned, startled. What's in the West Wing? He smiled thinly. That's not for you to know. But you will clean it. The West Wing had always been locked. Now, as the grand double doors creaked open, a waft of cold, stale air hit her face. Inside was different from the rest of the house. It was like time had stopped. Everything was covered in dusty white sheets. The windows were blocked, and there was no light except for the flickering flame of the candelabra Mr. Blackwood held. "Don't wander," he said sharply. "I'll be in the study." He left her there, alone, the door clicking shut behind him. Zara pulled one sheet away. Underneath was a crib. A child's crib, untouched for years. Another sheet covered a rocking chair. A tiny shoe lay beside it. The silence here was thicker than in the rest of the house, like something had been buried beneath it. She moved slowly, brushing dust from antique furniture and rows of books. When she turned the corner into what appeared to be a nursery, she saw something that stopped her heart. A journal. It was small, leather-bound, hidden under a loose floorboard beside the bed. Zara carefully opened it. June 4th. He says I will be the last. But I don't believe him. June 10th. I saw another girl arrive. She cried at night. Like I do. July 1st. The door to the cellar opened again. I wish someone would help us. The entries ended abruptly. No name. No goodbye. Zara stood frozen, clutching the book. It was proof she wasn't imagining things. That others had been here before her. That they were real. And that they were gone. She didn't get a chance to hide the journal. Mr. Blackwood returned sooner than expected. What is that? He asked, his voice cold. Zara tried to tuck it behind her, but he stepped forward, fast. He snatched it from her hands. Flipped through the pages. His expression darkened. You were told not to explore. I didn't mean to, I was cleaning and... His cane cracked down on the floor. You were reading things that are none of your concern. The old man's calm facade crumbled for a second, and beneath it was something cruel. Something unkind. He locked the journal in a drawer and turned back to her. You're not a guest, Zara. You're here to serve. But you adopted me. No, he snapped. I purchased your obedience. The words cut like a blade. Zara stood in stunned silence, watching as he walked away. Her reality shifted. There was no adoption. No compassion. Just a rich stranger with secrets too dark to name. That night, Zara didn't sleep. The journal's words haunted her. The girl who wrote it was gone, just like the others in the painting. She knew that now. She needed to get out. But escape wasn't easy in this place. Every door was locked. Every window sealed shut. And there were cameras, small, blinking red lights tucked into corners. She hadn't noticed them at first, but they were everywhere. Still she tried. She mapped out paths during her chores. Studied the timing of the staff. Noted when Mr. Blackwood left the house, which wasn't often. And every night, she returned to the hallway with the cellar door. The lock never moved. Until one stormy evening she noticed the key. It was tucked beneath a broken vase on a table nearby, almost like someone had wanted her to find it. She waited until midnight. Then, barefoot and breath held tight, she crept down the hallway, heart pounding, key in hand. With a slow, trembling motion, she unlocked the door. It opened with a groan. Stale, cold air rushed up from the darkness. She stepped in. The cellar stairs creaked. The light from her flashlight flickered. As she descended, Zara realized just how deep the basement was. Much deeper than it should have been. The walls were stone, carved by hand. The air was damp. Mold clung to the corners. She reached a heavy wooden hallway with rows of locked iron doors. One of them she recognized. The whispering cell. She stepped closer. Hello, she whispered. From the shadows, the pale girl appeared again. Her eyes widened in shock when she saw Zara. You came back, she said hoarsely. What is this place? Who are you? My name is Eliza, the girl croaked. I was adopted 2 years ago. Just like you. Zara's blood ran cold. How many of you are here? Only me now. The others, they disappeared. One by one. She looked down, eyes hollow. I think he keeps us for something. Something old. I hear him talking to someone when he thinks I'm asleep. Zara wanted to scream. She wanted to run. Instead, she leaned closer. I'm going to get you out, she whispered. But before Eliza could reply, a creaking sound echoed above them. Footsteps. The cellar door was closing. Zara ran. She dashed up the stairs, yelling for Mr. Blackwood, for anyone. But the door slammed shut before she could reach it. She was trapped. On the other side, a voice echoed. I warned you, Zara. Curiosity always costs. She pounded the door with her fists. Please. There's a girl down here. She's alive. But silence answered her. Then the locks clicked into place. And she was left in the dark. The darkness in the cellar felt alive, breathing, watching, waiting. Zara's flashlight flickered once, twice, then died completely. He always does this, Eliza whispered from her cell. Leaves them in the dark until they break. Zara pressed her back against the cold stone wall. Who is he? What does he want? Mr. Blackwood isn't even his real name, Eliza explained. The staff calls him the Collector. He finds girls like us, forgotten, unwanted, and brings us here. For what? Time, Eliza said simply. He's stealing our time. She revealed how Mr. Blackwood was obsessed with immortality. The girls weren't just servants, they were ingredients in his rituals. The numbers beneath their feet in the painting weren't dates, they were days. How long each girl lasted before she disappeared. We need to get out, Zara whispered. Now. She found a loose brick with hidden tools behind it, a rusty screwdriver and hairpin left by a previous captive. The girl before you almost made it out. Almost isn't good enough, Zara replied. We're both getting out tonight. Upstairs, Mr. Blackwood sat in his study, ancient book open before him. On his desk sat 9 small vials containing dark liquid. Beside them, 2 empty vials waited, labeled Eliza and Zara. The grandfather clock struck midnight, and the old man smiled. It took nearly an hour for Zara to pick the lock on Eliza's cell. They made their way to the wine cellar where Eliza knew of a service tunnel used for deliveries. As they reached for the hidden door's handle, the lights flickered on. I'm disappointed, came Mr. Blackwood's voice. But not surprised. He stood there, leaning on his cane, his skin almost translucent in places. 2 silent staff members flanked him. Did you really think it would be that easy? He asked. No one leaves unless I allow it. You've given us nothing but nightmares, Zara shot back. Mr. Blackwood's face darkened. Ungrateful child. Just like my own daughter was, before she tried to escape. The truth hit Zara like a physical blow. The nursery. The tiny shoe. His own daughter had been his first victim. You're a monster, she whispered. I'm a survivor, he corrected. And tonight I will complete what I started decades ago. They were dragged to a circular chamber with strange markings carved into the floor. 9 candles burned around its edge, 1 for each previous victim. As the staff secured them to iron rings on the wall, Zara reached into a hidden pocket she'd sewn into her uniform. There lay a phone, not hers, but one she'd found in the West Wing, belonging to another girl. She'd kept it secretly charged during her chores. While Mr. Blackwood prepared his ritual, Zara worked one hand free enough to reach the phone. During her weeks of planning, she had discovered Mr. Blackwood's real identity and documented his crimes from journals she found while cleaning. She attached photos of everything to a pre-written message and pressed send. Who shall be first? Mr. Blackwood asked, holding a silver knife. I'll go first, Zara said, stalling. But tell me, how many others were there before the 9 in the painting? He smiled proudly. 12 before I perfected the process. As he spoke, distant sirens began to wail. Growing louder, Mr. Blackwood froze. Impossible. I sent everything, Zara said. Your real name, the journals, the names of all the missing girls. Everything. There's no signal here. You missed the old service antenna in the East Tower. The one that still works during lightning storms. Like tonight. The house suddenly erupted with noise, doors crashing open, voices shouting. Police! Everyone stay where you are. The staff fled in panic, leaving Mr. Blackwood alone with the girls. His composed facade shattered completely. You've ruined everything, he screamed, lunging at Zara with the knife. But as he moved, the ritual circle beneath them glowed, activated by his rage. The 9 vials shattered, their contents streaming through the air, surrounding him like chains. This isn't possible, he screamed, as years seemed to catch up with him all at once. His skin wrinkled, his hair whitened and fell out, his body bent and twisted. The police burst into the room just in time to witness the bizarre transformation of a man who had escaped justice for decades. Within seconds, what stood before them wasn't the elegant Mr. Blackwood, but a withered, ancient man who could barely stand. What is happening? One officer gasped. Justice, Eliza whispered. 3 months later, the courtroom was packed as the judge delivered the sentence. Multiple life sentences without parole. His real name was Edward Blackwood, born in 1892. The mansion had yielded horrific secrets, remains of victims, detailed journals of his experiments, and evidence of abductions spanning nearly a century. As they led the now ancient man away, he locked eyes with Zara one last time. There was no power left in that gaze, only the defeated stare of a monster finally caged. 1 year later, Zara stood before a crowd, cutting the ribbon on a new building, the Phoenix House, a home for foster girls. "This center stands on the grounds where so much pain once lived," she said. "We've torn down the mansion and built something new. A place of hope, not fear." Beside her stood Eliza, now working as a youth counselor. Together, they had transformed a place of nightmares into a sanctuary. Later that afternoon, Zara visited a small garden at the edge of the property. 10 stone markers stood in a circle, each engraved with a name, the girls who never left the mansion. The 10th read simply, "For those whose names we never learned." She placed flowers before each marker and whispered, "It's over. You can't hurt anyone else. Ever again." As she turned to leave, she noticed a young girl watching her, one of the first residents of Phoenix House. The girl smiled shyly, and Zara smiled back, recognizing a familiar spark of determination in her eyes. This was how healing began. Not with grand gestures, but with small moments of connection. By transforming darkness into light and refusing to let evil have the final word. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more powerful narratives. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this ending, share with friends, and tell me in the comments what stories you'd like to hear next. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss what's coming up next on our storytelling journey, *.